What do I enjoy doing?
We've all grown up with the conditioning that told us that it has to be difficult.
There are some things that just put us in the zone.
What is a thing I would do even if I was not getting paid for it?
When you try and tie that together, you can be a very good senior mentor.
I'm enjoying working in the startup because I know what I'm supposed to do.
You don't have to get stuck with skill set labels that already exist.
And sometimes just the articulation is the one little gap between going from there to there.
I enjoy selling and I'm kind of industry agnostic because my skill is the customer relation.
But typically, if you voluntarily stepped out, it means there was something there that wasn't okay. And then when you start thinking about what about it, some of those answers become easier also.
What am I good at? What should I do next? I've done this for 15 years. What else do I know? These are some of the questions I hear so often as a coach, as a friend, as a colleague. Now, why do they come to me and ask me this? That's what we're going to talk about. What are some of the skill sets that we hold that sometimes we don't even realize? And then why should we know about it? What do we do once we know? I think there's a lot of value in spending some time to understand what you're good at and what can that lead to. So let's go down that path today and try and figure out how to really connect the dots. Shall we?
Yes.
Welcome to Small Talk Work Play Build. I'm Subha Chandrasekharan, a leadership and career growth coach.
And I'm Hasita. I'm a brand consultant and co founder at Motley Crue.
So maybe I'll put you on the spot, Hasita.
Okay.
If I were to ask you, what are the three things that you're really good at?
Hmm.
Would you have an immediate answer?
No, not immediately. Not, I think because they aren't there. I recognize and I'm cognizant of the fact that there is some good there, but I feel like I have to answer you in a very specific context, and I'm not very sure I know what is that contextual goodness. Like we are here,
Huh,
we're
what are you
recording
good
this
at?
episode.
Yeah.
Can I say that I am prepared to have this conversation? Like, is that something of value or not? That's where I think the challenge comes from.
Yeah. But if I had asked you, what are three things that you do, your answer is clearer, right? I'm a marketer, I'm
Yeah.
a writer, I'm a podcaster.
Yeah.
So those titles come easily to us.
Yeah.
And which is okay because that's part of the story. But I think there's a lot of value in, going a few levels deeper and figuring out what's the thread that has brought me to where I am today. And now what do I do with that information?
Mm. And as you were saying that, I just realized for a lot of us that question itself is very existential, no? And we,
Hmm.
in fact, we deal with it in therapy, not in workplace. The question we ask is, "Am I enough?"
Yeah.
And it comes up so often for all of us. Like it's always there, and I'm sure therapists have their own therapist to whom they're
Yeah,
posing the
they do
same
supervision. Yeah,
question,
yeah, very much.
right? Um, and somewhere, if we drill down, sometimes it is a question of not acknowledging or not having heard from somebody that these are the five things that you're actually good at and you do it so well. So clearly you must be right. I mean,
Correct, correct. I think the first instinct is to downplay. For
hmm.
most of us, I mean, it's a conditioning, especially for women, but it's a general conditioning of um, but yeah, that too, I somehow happen to have that knack.
Yeah, yeah.
I was kind of I was blessed with it. It's genetic. My dad had the gift of the gab. I just
Yeah,
have
yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah,
It's
true.
I didn't do anything. Like, don't think that I put a lot of
Effort
effort.
into it. And especially if it comes easy, I think we want to justify it and move on as quickly as possible. So
Yeah.
we don't identify, you're right, a lot of skills which we may actually be demonstrating every day, but we don't realize because they come so easily
Correct.
at this point.
Correct. And of late, it's really taking me to interesting conversations because more and more people are coming to me as a coach saying, "Hey, this is where I am today. Um, for many reasons, it's not enough.
Hmm, hmm.
Or the workplace has told me goodbye.
Yeah.
It's not enough. And now what do I do? How do I
Hmm,
figure out what next?"
hmm.
And when you kind of get into the layers and say, okay, what do you enjoy doing? What are you good at doing?
Hmm.
What do
Hmm.
you want to do more of? I realized that they've never asked themselves that, never
Yeah.
needed
Yeah.
to, also, maybe, and not caught the cues of others telling them.
Hmm. Hmm. By virtue of downplaying. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And yeah, it's, I mean, once you spend for now a decade doing some things,
Mm.
I feel like that is going to shorten significantly in the years to come. That question does come up for all of us on some level to say, why am I being paid to do this?
Yeah, yeah.
Right? Why am I? In fact, a lot of work that we do with our senior leadership now is also on saying do less,
Mm.
because you need to pay attention to what is that high impact role that you're able to play, which you won't be doing if you're sitting and doing the same emails 10 times a day, the same work which you've done in the past. You
Yeah,
have to switch off that
correct.
muscle of doing to really sit and ask yourself, what is that thing I do in 1 hour, which maybe for someone else might take days?
Correct. I think it's that what we kind of have referred to many times of that doing and being,
Hmm,
right?
hmm, hmm.
You fill your day with the doing,
Yeah.
but are you being a good leader? Are you
Yeah.
being a good writer? Are you?
Yeah. It's so interesting to me, Subha. We're having this conversation now because I think before we started this season, we took the longest pause we've ever taken on small talk. I think it
Mm,
stretched to 6, 8 months, if
yeah,
I'm not
yeah.
wrong. One, of course, the logistics of how do we go video and all of it,
Mm,
all of that was there. But we were really in that space of wondering, what are we contributing? What are we
mm,
bringing more
mm,
to the
mm,
table of?
mm.
And at that time, I think a lot of people told us,
Yeah,
when we pondered this question in the collective, I think a lot of people told us that, hey, the thing that comes so naturally to you guys is the ability to have a conversation and keep it free flowing.
correct,
Right?
correct.
You, and I think even to this day, we stake the claim of saying we are not a scripted podcast.
Yeah, yeah,
It was so difficult for us, right? But we've been friends for so long, so it just comes
yeah,
naturally.
correct.
I feel like at some point it's important to step up and say, hey, but you know what, we are actually an unscripted podcast.
Yeah,
Everything we are doing is happening without a script.
yeah.
That's a skill set.
Because it felt like there is judgment of you're not doing the work, then you're not even coming with a script, right?
Exactly, right?
But the script writes itself
Yeah.
because of,
Because we've done other things,
correct,
right?
no, because of our curiosity in other things, our willingness to consume different content, our willingness to listen to what our audience is saying or people who we like
Yeah.
are saying, and we actually have a lot of conversations, whether it's through memes or through actual conversations.
Hmm.
Our preparation is the conversations we have.
Exactly. And that's making me realize that maybe for those of us who need to identify that abstraction of a skill set, the first place we should look is in our play,
Yeah, yeah,
right? We feel like there you would be bringing so much more that time flies.
correct.
So what is it that you're doing in the time that is flying?
No, very true. And so many youngsters, middle management who come to me, even they think they're coming to write, to have their resume
Hmm.
rewritten,
Hmm.
right? And I tell them that this will be a slightly cathartic process,
Hmm.
because you will go through, your body of work,
Hmm. Hmm.
and really at the end of that become more aware of
Hmm.
what did you actually do, what did you contribute,
Hmm.
where was the impact, where
Hmm.
was the doing and where was the being,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
What part of it did you enjoy, what were you called out for, what did
Hmm.
people keep coming to you for,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because I remember, like, and it took the coach's journey in a way for me to realize people kept coming to me at the workplace in a crisis,
Hmm. That's so
right?
interesting. Yeah.
They kept coming to me, and probably I, at that point, I mean, firstly, you're in a crisis, so you're not thinking of asking why are you coming to me. But there have been conversations afterwards where they've said it in different ways. Nobody's going to say it in
The exact
exact
ways
way,
that click for
right?
us.
But they've
Yeah.
said, hey, we're able to escalate to you
Hmm.
because you focus on solving the problem, not who
Hmm.
caused the problem.
Hmm. Hmm.
While
Hmm.
we do come to that later, uh, we know that the crisis will get handled, and that's what we need at that
Hmm.
moment,
Hmm.
right? We know that you're able to have conversations with people who are part of that crisis situation without judgment. You're able to listen
Hmm.
and then figure out what should we do next in the best interest of the organization, the team, the client,
Hmm.
etc.,
Hmm.
etc., right? Or we see that there's a calmness which calms us,
Yeah.
right?
Wow. Wow. Yeah. And in fact, that's how I would describe you as well, having met you much later in life. Like, of course, I have not known you in the city days,
Yeah,
but that seed of something,
yeah.
something very gravitational almost, right? To say if something is going wrong, you'll be held for the amount of time it takes for you to figure it out is a very you thing, I've found.
Which again is a life's journey to figure out. But once you start, even if one person triggers that thought,
Hmm. Hmm.
right,
Hmm.
and then you start paying attention to it, you're right, but still not easy to say, hey, that's my skill set,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It feels very, how can I say this about myself?
Yeah.
Um, but today, that is my life's work, right? As a coach,
Yeah.
um, the ability to sit quietly and listen
Hmm.
without
Hmm.
judgment, to create that safe space, right?
Hmm.
I felt it so much more maybe during a pandemic. Like the question I said, what do people come to you for,
Hmm. Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
People kept coming to me to just say, hey,
This
I know you
happened.
listen,
Hmm. Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
And in some situations you may have an idea or a solution, or you may nudge me towards something, or you may give me clarity,
Hmm.
but fundamentally you'll hold that space for me,
Hmm. Hmm.
right?
Hmm. Yeah.
And and that's probably picking up on those threads unknowingly, I think, or maybe even knowingly. I always knew that there was a comfort there for me. I was
Hmm.
able to do that, without an extra strain,
Hmm. Hmm.
right?
And hence the play.
And hence
Yeah. Yeah. So to speak.
and hence
Yeah.
coaching makes sense for me.
Hmm. Hmm.
and
Hmm.
and that's how I found it, and it found me,
Hmm.
right? Coming back to the thing of so many saying, what should I do next?
Hmm.
It may not be a straight line from what you're doing now.
Hmm.
So if you're open to that discovery,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
many aren't.
Yeah, and I think, see, that there we've always said this podcast, and for that matter, any amount of work we do independently and together in life is of the curious and for the curious,
Yeah,
right? So
yeah,
there's no doubt about the fact that this episode is probably going to be so much more relevant to someone who's already asking that question
yeah, yeah.
of, hey, what else am I good at? Surely there must be more to life
Correct,
than
correct,
is really where we are coming
correct.
from. Yeah,
And many factors, in the environment around us today, more and more people are asking that
that's
question,
true. And faster.
and faster. And if you're not, that's also fine.
Yeah.
But if you are, I think there's a lot of kind of value in the curiosity that you have. Like stay with it,
Hmm. Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
If you've asked the question,
Yeah.
then kind of take it forward and think about, hey, what do I enjoy doing,
Hmm.
right? We've so many times we've said, like, there are some things that just put us in the zone.
Hmm. Hmm.
Both of us could sit on a, strangely, like on a Wix or
Yeah.
WordPress kind of tool for hours, just
Just figure. I think the
figuring it
linearity
out.
of tools and automation is something that both our minds definitely
Yeah,
enjoy quite a
yeah.
lot. Yeah.
And that's not the core of what we do day in and day out, but there is something there that we enjoy, which also means that we will figure out new tools.
And it's so interesting because following from that, I've realized what I've done very successfully for now in life is that I've automated a service business.
Hmm.
Like, I would
Hmm.
never
Hmm.
have thought it in those many words, but that's actually what is allowing me to sit here and have this conversation without the phone ringing constantly,
Yeah.
right? So I think we all have innate curiosities for different
Yeah.
different things. The problem is cultural, like you said, where I think we've all grown up with the conditioning that told us that it has to be difficult for it to be meaningful
Ah.
or worthwhile. Like, the way to earn credibility in society is to do the really hard thing. But I think what we are saying is, do the different thing that is easy to you. It could be
Yeah.
hard for someone else, it could be
Correct.
easy, god knows. It's not a question of degree of
Yeah.
hardship. It's a question of degree of difference. Like, is it interesting enough for you
Yeah.
to invest your
I
time
think
in?
because we've also been conditioned that if you're creative, then you're not the engineering type, right?
Left brain, right
Yeah,
brain, all of
so
that.
much
Yeah,
of,
yeah,
right?
so
Like,
true.
I think we all are a good mix of both, and it's
Yeah,
about what you're playing to, or what you choose to cater to, what you respond to.
yeah.
Like you said, because of both of us being so not just curious, we're okay with the difficulty that comes out of a new tool.
The discomfort that comes out of a new
Right,
process.
because
Yeah,
how did this podcast start? I mean, we started talking, yes, but we said, okay, fine, we'll create an account in Anchor, we'll figure out how to
yeah, edit. And I
edit
think for
it.
the
And
longest time we were editing it
I think
ourselves. Like,
almost
there
two
was,
seasons we did it ourselves, right?
yeah,
Then we said,
yeah,
okay, we'll figure out Riverside, we'll figure out how to do it over Zoom. Like, that didn't scare us.
yeah, yeah. In
'Cause
fact, it was playful.
yeah,
I don't know, like this is really a play episode in my mind, because what we are really calling people to do is to step away from the work of it.
mm,
Like the hard things will be hard, and some of it you may have to do, some of it you may not. But what are those things that are so effortless in that journey?
yeah.
And I think once you worked a certain number of years, there are so many of those things.
Yeah, yeah. Because how will you discover that, let's say, you're a good mentor in an
Mm-hmm.
organization, right? Because you look back and you think, what have I enjoyed? Hey, I've enjoyed interacting with that new batch of interns, or I've
Mm-hmm.
enjoyed giving a talk to another department,
Yeah.
or I've just enjoyed walking into another department, speaking to people, figure out what they do. When I when you try and tie that together,
Mm.
you can be a very good senior mentor.
Exactly. And as you brought that up, I was also thinking of the question of what is a thing I would do even if I was not getting paid for it.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
Monetizing it is a whole other episode for some other day. But to say what is that fundamental, joy or the
Yeah,
source of that joy, that you do it irrespective of what was the
yeah, yeah.
consequence or
And
not.
ultimately making sure you get paid for it,
Yeah, I
right?
mean, that's always, please, like, none of this is to say, please don't get paid for it. Please do get paid for it and take pride in getting paid for
Yeah,
it. But what is that, source of joy which is independent of the outcome?
yeah. And some jobs by, or some professions rather, by nature, they're not, industry specific, or, those who, let's say, jump from HR roles in one organization to another, or somebody who says, hey, I'm a salesperson,
Hmm.
right? And hence you can sell whatever you need to sell,
Yeah.
right? Even in that, there are skill sets. And if you can connect the dots to say, I enjoy selling and I'm kind of industry agnostic because my skill is the customer relation,
Hmm.
right? I am able to build trust quickly. I'm able to
Hmm.
deliver on that trust.
Hmm.
I'm
Hmm.
able to hold that relationship. And hence, I'm able to do it no matter whether I'm selling laptops or I'm selling chips. I'm able to do that.
Yeah. And in fact, this is a lot of work that you do with startups as well. And it only kind of hit home when a friend of mine recently told me that finally now I'm enjoying working in the startup because I know what I'm supposed to do.
Mm,
Even though the stakes are higher and my role has been streamlined to a point where there's either results or there isn't,
mm,
I'm a lot happier doing this than I was doing the mundane, non work that I was.
yeah.
And interestingly, it came from the startup having hired a very experienced professional.
Mm,
So, what this professional brought to the table is some certainty to say that if you do these four things this way, then historically, from my experience, I know that it will work in this way, which is
huh.
not a guarantee that a lot
Yeah,
of
yeah,
startups have.
yeah, yeah.
So, even that could be just the fact that you've, I don't know, been there and battled it out for 20 years is a skill set in and of
Correct,
itself.
correct. I think it's very important today to um, kind of go to first principles
Yeah.
of what is it that, yes, and you can even attribute it to genetics, and I'm innately good at communicating, I'm innately good at, stakeholder management, I'm innately good at so many things. But I think find the language to identify these skills that
Mm-hmm.
you have,
Mm-hmm.
because that is what is going to help you keep moving forward in your career trajectory, in whatever way you want to grow. You can
Mm-hmm.
want to stay in the same organization, nobody is stopping you.
Yeah.
But if you want to make progress for yourself in some way or the other, at some point you have to communicate to the person at the other side of the table that, hey, these are the 4 5 things I bring to you.
Hmm.
And just saying I'm a project manager
Hmm.
doesn't
Doesn't
cut
tell.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, I have had to give that feedback to a couple of resumes that have come my way recently, which I've then kind of forwarded to the relevant person. But I had to say, hey, you're telling me the what of it,
Huh.
but there's nothing here that's telling me how this is going to matter to
Huh.
somebody in that context, right? You might have said that I am an automation engineer specializing in, Salesforce. But how do I apply it to the context of the industry in which you clearly said I'm interested? Like this person especially reached out saying I'm interested in working in climate tech
Hmm.
and renewables. So how do you tie those two? Because
Yeah.
in your head that connection has formed. Otherwise you
Yeah.
wouldn't have said it in
Correct.
the first
Correct.
place. But unless you tell me that, I
Yeah.
can't.
Yeah. And you know, you don't have to get stuck with skill set labels that already exist.
Hmm. Hmm.
Like you can create language of your own, I
Hmm.
feel. Like you
Hmm.
can say, hey, I'm somebody who is able to maybe research on climate tech, just the way
Hmm.
I did with auto,
Hmm.
and come up with new ideas,
Yeah.
or come up with what's lacking,
Yeah.
or come up with what do you need to fill the gap, or even to tell you the 5 reasons why it didn't work,
Hmm. Hmm.
why a
Hmm.
certain strategy didn't work.
Yeah.
Like, you can put it in your own words. You don't have to be stuck with what the hashtags are, or
Yeah.
what has already been said,
Yeah.
because it's your career, your life, your journey.
Yeah.
Call it what you want.
Yeah, it
That's
just
not a
makes me think
problem.
of all the chefs who make this really beautiful looking fancy food, and there are a lot of pages now where the person says day 45 of making Disney themed food so that
Mm,
the cruise liner hires me as a chef. Like today, the way to tell stories also,
yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
as much as we vilify social media from a consumption standpoint, I think we also sometimes fail to recognize the power it has to be able to reach the right
yeah,
eyes and
very
ears.
much.
And sometimes just the articulation is the one little gap between going from there to there.
Correct, correct. And once you see the thread, or sometimes, it's like somebody even just references it, it can help you take it.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, just this podcast, both of us realize now that, one, we of course enjoy our own banter and our own conversations, but we genuinely have a skill set, and we enjoy conversations with people we don't know
Oh,
much
so
about,
much. Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And I would have never thought of it as something either of us would
Yeah, yeah, because I
be
think
good at or
yeah,
want to do.
yeah, because I think we also for the longest time said that a lot of conversation which is of a surface quality doesn't come easily to,
Yeah,
and we've actively shied away from environments. But I think the corollary to that is that we want the depth, we
yeah,
want something that feeds the curiosity in
yeah,
us.
yeah. But just by putting that out there, or saying it to each other, that
Hmm.
we enjoy, uh, kind of speaking to somebody, finding out more, learning more, asking questions,
Hmm.
has already slightly opened doors for us, in the sense
Yeah.
that we're doing collaborations, we're interviewing people who we might not have otherwise crossed paths with.
Yeah.
We're open to doing more, where we realize that we may be a career and workplace podcast, but we're not limited to that in the conversations we have.
I'm just thinking, like tomorrow, if I had an opportunity to interview a Marvel team on the,
Yeah.
I would like
Yeah,
jump at it,
yeah,
right?
yeah. And you're ready for it, in the
Yeah.
sense, I mean, obviously you'll prepare like crazy for it, but from a mindset
The
perspective,
fundamental, the foundational skill set is kind of already there. Yeah.
correct. So I think that discovery journey we all really have to embark on, whether you do it on your own, you use your inner circle, ask the questions, what do you see me enjoying, what do you see me good at, or just reflect on feedback you've received over the
Hmm.
years. Use all of that to identify and say, okay, these are 3 4 things that I could possibly do next,
Hmm.
if either I choose to or I'm forced to.
Hmm. Hmm.
Because the jobs and job descriptions and job titles as we know it, I mean, every day there is some article telling you about the 20 jobs that will die and the 20 jobs that will survive,
Yeah.
but again, and for a limited period of time. So the nature of work is fundamentally changing,
Hmm. Hmm.
right?
And I feel like the sooner we identify, like for a long time, it was okay to not know also these
Yeah,
things. Like you could still have a career that was of meaning to you, which is fine. That's all it ever needs to be.
yeah,
But today the problem is that rug will not stay under your feet for too long if you're not thinking,
yeah.
yeah,
I think it will also make that transition easier,
oh, for sure.
because you'll be very open to the new opportunity,
Mm,
because you don't see it as a failure in the previous one. You
mm,
see
mm,
it as genuinely having connected the thread to what you're good at or would like to do or try more of,
mm, mm,
right?
mm,
So you could have, to say that, hey, I was a banker, and then, I started doing some leadership development work through workshops, facilitation. Today I'm a coach. To me, there are significant threads which
yeah,
connect that
yeah, yeah.
journey, and because of that, I'm happy doing what I do today.
Mm,
I
mm,
don't see it as, oh, I left a high paying job and I'm doing something else.
mm.
There is a
That
connective
story is
tissue,
also interesting. Yeah, yeah,
right?
I see what
So
you mean.
if you are today, a delivery manager, a program manager, a project manager, or even a writer,
Mm,
a designer, etc., and tomorrow you have to do, I don't know, you have to do a chief of staff role somewhere for whatever reason.
mm.
The thread, if you have identified the thread, you'll be very comfortable jumping into that.
Actually, you know who this episode is most relevant to? People on a sabbatical.
Huh.
Like, I just feel like you've taken that break for some reason,
Hmm.
which is articulated in whatever ways, right? But I feel like that's the time when you're really thinking, what's next for
Yeah.
me? Because
Yeah.
you know you don't want to go back to what was.
Correct.
For a lot of people on
Correct.
sabbatical, I
Correct.
mean, of course, other circumstances exist.
Yeah.
But typically, if you voluntarily stepped out, it means there was something there that
Yeah.
wasn't okay.
Yeah.
And then when you start thinking about what about it, some of those
Yeah.
answers become easier also.
And I have this kind of conversation, like you said, it's somebody who's on the cusp of something
Hmm. Hmm.
else or have the opportunity for that change. Because a lot of the students I work with who have left their job to do a, a 1 year or a 2 year, let's say a B school program
Hmm. Hmm.
or an executive management program. So now in their mind, they have left something to do something else,
Hmm.
and this course is the bridge.
Right. Right.
But the struggle is still to say, but now what am I good at? Like,
Yeah,
I did
because
something
I am
well.
one among thousand people who've done the same.
Yeah,
Yeah, which
yeah,
again is becoming so much of a last stand almost,
yeah,
in that we don't know where
yeah,
is it that we'll end up in this cohort of thousand itself.
correct.
Yeah, and sometimes also that whole generational divide we talk about, right? We've spoken so much and we'll continue to speak so much about the Gen Z employee.
Mm,
Finally, what are they asking? They're saying, show me the meaning
yeah,
behind this,
yeah, very much.
right? And
Fair enough.
sometimes
No,
with
I
the,
mean,
yeah, I
I
mean,
don't
God
know.
knows we are asking for it. So with the limited experience at the workplace that they've
Mm,
had, maybe there is a bridge there, right? The way to connect with this cohort of people that you will invariably be working with is to start helping them make meaning.
mm,
And that in itself is a skill that you could be honing and developing as a more senior executive or a leader as
yeah.
well. So,
Because that awareness really helps you say yes to certain opportunities, widen the scope of where you
yeah.
are looking or what you're searching for. So I see a lot of it with, and in many of them they're not even youngsters. They've already spent, youngsters in the sense they've already spent 6 7 years in
Hmm,
industry,
hmm,
then
hmm,
they've taken a break to upskill themselves either
hmm.
through an MBA or through some other professional program. And then you're saying, oh, what can I do next, because I did this for the last so many years.
Yeah.
When you start looking at it as skill sets, right, and not as job roles and designations
True.
and
So true.
industries, then a world of stuff opens up.
Hmm,
Because you say,
hmm,
hey, I am somebody who loves to be client facing,
hmm, hmm,
and
hmm,
that's what I still want to be doing next.
hmm.
Or I am somebody who did a lot of that, but I found that my true impact was in solving the
Processes or
problem
yeah,
from the
yeah,
back side,
yeah.
back end,
Hmm.
right? And that's also fine. So that helps you make decisions about what next,
Yeah, yeah.
who should I speak to, who should I reach out to. It improves your ability to network because
Hmm,
your
hmm.
own clarity is higher,
Yeah, and
right?
then you're able to ask for the promotions that you want. You're able to ask for the opportunities that you want. And
Correct.
honestly, when even when you go there and say, "Hey, but I only know this much and I don't know the rest of it," at least it's coming from a grounded place. It's coming from
Mm,
a genuine place, which makes it a lot easier to, relate and resonate with the individual on the other side.
correct.
Yeah, been having a lot of conversations more recently with writers who are losing jobs
Mm,
very quickly.
mm,
I think 3 4 months ago when we did the episode on AI, this was still quite hypothetical, but now it is the reality
yeah,
of our
yeah.
world and our future. And for a lot of them, I think that little question that sometimes helps because you're in a bad place, right? None
Mm,
of us
mm,
want to lose our jobs. We don't
yeah.
like the feeling of it. It makes us feel
And
less
you're kind of
somehow.
losing it to an
A
non-existent.
non-entity,
Yeah,
moreover,
yeah.
right? Which you can never compete with. So where could you have gone wrong? I think for a lot of us who are on that, already the annihilation spectrum, if I could call it that, is to go back to the fundamentals and say,
Mm,
why did I start doing this? Right?
mm,
I lasted in it for 10 years. So there must be something that is supporting the skill
mm,
set of writing. So how
mm,
do I start leveraging more on the supporting aspect of it
yeah.
rather than saying, because of these reasons, I'm a writer, sure. But because of these reasons, I could be something else as well.
Yeah. No, and I've seen a couple of writers share that I realized that what I actually enjoy is the research,
Hmm.
the conversations, the kind of the journalistic
Yeah.
conversations that I have with people, and then I put out some kind of long form content. Now, that has use in many
Yeah.
other places. You can be writing business cases, you can be writing papers, you can be doing research for larger journalistic think tanks.
Hmm. 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 Yeah.
The skill is not just writing.
Hmm. The skill is investigation almost.
Correct,
Yeah. Yeah.
correct. And then that can open doors and opportunities
Yeah.
for individuals. But there's a huge self reflection aspect to it.
Hmm.
So you do have to, sit down and think,
Yeah.
say, where did I, over the years, where did I create impact personally, professionally? Where did I get called for?
What am I naturally gravitating towards at this point in
Yeah,
time?
what made
Yeah,
me
that's a
happy?
huge sign.
What did I avoid
Hmm. Hmm.
consistently?
Hmm.
Because maybe you still want to avoid that in some
That's a
way,
big question.
right?
Yeah.
Or to say, why did I avoid it? Maybe the, who I am today is different,
Hmm.
right? And I see that, I mean, that's huge for me,
Hmm.
right? Very early on, in whether it's school days or college, I've avoided public speaking, or
Hmm. Hmm.
I've avoided having an opinion and speaking it
Hmm.
out, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
Today I'm very different, and that has come through the roles that I went through, the people I met, the opportunities that I said yes to.
Hmm. Hmm.
But today I have to recognize that I'm not that person.
Hmm.
So I may have avoided it then, but I don't want to avoid it any
Yeah,
longer.
yeah. That's a very interesting way. I don't think, honestly, like I was thinking, what is it that I avoid? And I really have to sit down and think about it, right?
Hmm.
And off the top of my head, I avoid saying yes to meetings,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
Because clearly there's
Yeah.
something, maybe it's a sensory stimulus. It could be,
Yeah. Could be.
right?
Could
There
be.
is something about it which is not, working for me.
Yeah.
So how do I front end
Yeah.
people who might be good at it for
Correct. Or
that? Yeah.
even just sit down to say, okay, is it all meetings?
Yeah.
Is it that I need some structure to it?
Yeah.
So then I have to take the
Actually, I need to
structure.
know when it ends. That's my thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's true.
Correct. So if I, really, really avoid meetings where somebody's just called it and there's no agenda, then let me take the agenda.
Exactly. And I have done that. You're so
Uh,
right. Yeah. Such an important question, right? Like what is it that I avoid and why? And
yeah.
maybe there are opportunities there as well.
Correct.
Yeah.
And to see the shifts in yourself, to know what to say yes and no to. I
Mm.
mean, that itself is a huge skill by itself. But I think self reflection is a huge part, and something that maybe we say often, but having those conversations, inviting the feedback,
Mm-hmm.
asking whether it's a sibling or a friend or an ex colleague, hey, what did we do well together,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
what did you see me,
Perform really well
yeah,
and
or
yeah,
contribute.
independently and so many other, yeah. In fact, I was just thinking that maybe we open up the comment section for this episode for people to just share instances
Yeah.
and for each other, and of course us to contribute wherever we can in terms of what we see as the, yeah.
Yeah. And challenge yourself and ask your client, because actually
Oh
the
yes.
paying customer knows best,
Yeah, I mean,
right?
honestly, if you have a relationship like that, you've already, like, there's a skill set
Correct,
there in and
correct,
of itself. But
correct.
asking your paying customer is the best way to find out what it is that you're actually
Yeah,
really,
and
really good at.
many times I've seen they'll tell you honestly that actually we connected with you, or we brought you in for this,
Hmm.
but we didn't see much of that, but we saw
Saw
this,
something, yeah, yeah.
you
So
know.
many instances of
Yeah,
that, yeah,
and that's very valuable
yeah.
input, because we are really uncharted territory
Mm-hmm.
coming up for
Yeah,
us, and we are all, moms, dads, uncles, aunts. We have generations coming up, and we have to guide them.
yeah.
They're also struggling to figure out, how to get their
Operate in
foothold
this, yeah, yeah.
in this world, and learning how to know what you enjoy, you want to do, what your core strengths are, how to tie that narrative together, how to tell that story,
Mm-hmm.
and then saying, okay, what next?
Hmm.
How do I use this information for what next?
Hmm.
I think that's becoming really, really relevant and important today,
Yeah, it's
because those
almost a.
structured, linear jobs and careers are gone,
Yeah,
completely gone,
yeah.
I
And I
think.
think we're seeing it sooner rather than later. I mean, 4 months to me is a bit of a revelation, honestly. To say that, like, we could get from there to there in 4 months is, I mean, honestly, tomorrow we may not have, like, the titles will not exist.
Yeah,
What are you going
yeah,
to apply for then? Yeah. And
correct.
honestly, what will the manager ask for?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think all of the time that we said, oh, it's going to change, I think it's
It
done.
is
It's,
changing,
yeah, it's over.
it's happening. Yeah.
The linear career path, the linear career journey, or to say, hey, I was given this job and I can be sure that if I continue to put my head down and do it for the next 5 years, that job will exist. All of that is gone,
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah.
right? And so we have to keep seeing, and that's the conversation I have when making resumes, that each stint that you've had, what are the skills that you picked up? Because that's
Hmm.
what you take to the next one, and then you add a few more, and then you take it to the next one. And those skills don't always have to be, just for your own, or it doesn't have to come from what you did, but it can
Mm-hmm.
be come from what you observed, what you learned, like through
Yeah,
osmosis
yeah,
from
yeah.
the environment you were in,
Yeah. What
you know.
happened as a result of
Yeah,
you being there?
yeah.
Mm. Which honestly, I think sometimes we don't acknowledge enough for us that that might not have happened if we weren't there.
Mm.
Like, let's not shy away from admitting that there
Yeah,
are some
yeah. Owning
circumstances
it.
where we have very actually impacted, the course of
Mm.
things,
Mm.
and just claim it for ourselves.
Yeah. I've seen very good managers and leaders close to home who have made sure, or people have stayed and contributed because of them.
Exactly. And that is a skill set in and
Yeah,
of itself. I mean,
yeah,
I can think of so many people like that whose
yeah.
presence was the gift to the
Right.
collective at that point.
They
Yeah.
were able to see the value in that team, to let that team shine in different ways. Those are all skills to cherish and then kind of build
Carry
on
forward.
and
Yeah.
take
Yeah.
forward.
So
Right.
true.
Yeah, so interesting. I think this has been
Very interesting. And I'm just thinking like that community aspect, it keeps coming back to me that
uh,
the beauty of all this is in the collective. And we stand to gain so much by being part of that intentional collective of people,
yeah,
telling each other things, sharing feedback. It doesn't always have to be pleasant and positive, it just has to be genuine.
yeah. I mean, that's something that I've written about earlier, and to have your own board of directors, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Different people who can see different parts of you,
Perspectives, yeah. And I think
and
in some ways that is small talk,
hmm,
right? Small talk, our hope with that is to build that collective that is able to,
yeah,
I don't know,
yeah,
just exist in a slightly more free third space, if you will. And hence the name, right? Small talk.
yeah.
Yeah.
True, true. And the work, play, and build, because
Yes, of course.
it's
Yeah,
it's all of it that shapes us.
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's see where it takes us.
Yeah. And we are also learning as we have these conversations. I think we are learning so much about the
Yeah.
power of the collective as well. Yeah.
So true.
So now for our segment that we like to call Read, Watch, Listen. This time around, I have a suggestion for you on Watch. Open Netflix, open Apple TV, any platform that you're subscribed to, and just click on the title card of the one show that you think you might actually never watch. Because I'll tell you what, this weekend I discovered this movie called Django Unchained. Of course, I've heard about it. I don't live under a rock. But I just managed to, see the title card and play it. And I've been having such a lot of fun learning about a period of history that I will otherwise have no relationship to. I'm having so much fun connecting the dots of why, the civil rights movement mattered so much to the American people. And I'm doing it in a way that seems a little sarcastic. It seems a little funny. It seems a little whitewashed, if you will. But it at least opens a door for me in terms of something that I didn't know before. So go on Netflix and watch something that you may not have watched before. And if, like me, that is Django Unchained, then I'm sure you're going to enjoy it.
I haven't seen it, so I need to pick
Okay.
that up. My recommendation for this week is, I happened to uh, get this book from our podcast manager,
Okay.
but it's a very, very good read. I think in a world where we talk about DEI being dead, let it be dead, but we can still focus on our careers and take it the way we want to. So this is really about saying that, hey, women are not asking to be treated equal, because we want to acknowledge, or we want the workplace and the professional space to recognize that we do come with different challenges. Now that we do come with those different challenges, Anita Bogle, who yes, the wife of Harsha Bogle, but more important than that, a management graduate, an advertising career, consulting career, and now a motivational speaker also. She's spoken to and interviewed tons of people to figure out what can be those catalysts. Not okay, we have these constraints, we have these challenges as women leaders, we don't see enough women leaders, but then what next? Right, what are the catalysts to really help our careers thrive, our careers flourish? And she gets into that with some amazing ideas, some amazing thoughts and insights. So I think this is a great read for women, and more so men at the workplace.
I think I'm going to pick that up
Yeah.
next.
So, with that, see you next time, folks. And do meet us in the comments. Tell us about your careers, your strengths. How did you discover them? What help you need for that? Look forward to all the stories. Bye.